Welcome, David and Katharine.
Hi, Tom.
Hi.
Tell me about the live concert show that the two of you are bringing to the Hard Rock on May 4th. What's the repertoire like? What's the groove of the show? Because you both have such diverse musical backgrounds as far as the styles and genres.
Well, it's nearly impossible to cover all of David's long history of music that he's produced, written, or done together. And we basically do a lot of his songs, but we combine how we met into his songs, which was, about 18 years ago on American Idol. And I was a contestant on the show. That's how we met. So we tell our story through his songs, through my songs, and a show that I did called Smash, which was, for Broadway lovers. And my songs that I've had in my much younger, shorter career than David doesn't cover the whole night, so we do a lot of David stuff, but we do some of the stuff that I'm known for.
What kind of accompaniment will you guys have on this?
We won't. It's all a cappella. Tom, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
We have an incredible band named, we have J.R. Robinson on drums, who's amazing. We have Bo Cooper on keyboards. He's from Nashville. Keith Nelson from Vegas, who's on bass. And our keyboard player, Bo, is a wizard at adding extra sounds with all the keyboards and samples that he has. So it's a small but mighty band. Mm-hmm. And then we have a guy named Daniel Emmett, who's an amazing singer, to cover some of the songs, the male songs that I've done over the years, and sing a couple of duets with Kat. It's a whirlwind from beginning to end. And then, of course, you have the dynamic of Kat and I on stage as a married couple with a bit of an age difference. So people love to know how that works and the goings on. We travel with our son, our 3-year-old, on the road as well, and every once in a while he sort of makes a little appearance because he's a drummer. And
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's expect the unexpected.
Well, you're known as a keyboardist and composer and vocalist, as you mentioned. You've had a lot of hits over the years and a lot of different styles of music. You have a singer singing the male parts. You're singing too, correct?
Man, my singing sucks. I've never been a good singer. I had one minor hit with Olivia Newton-John back in the day called The Best of Me. It took me 3 days to do that vocal, and I had to get my friend Jay Graydon to produce me and to put the vocal together. That's how bad I am. So, no, I don't. I warble through a few of my Chicago songs that I wrote with Peter Cetera, but just bits of them. But no, I need real singers, which is why without Kat and Daniel, I have no show.
Okay, but you are playing piano.
Of course.
Okay, you worried me there when you said you have a great keyboardist. So he supplements you.
Yeah, because all that extra, the strings, the horns, and all that stuff. I'm just strictly on the acoustic piano.
Okay. Well, David, you mentioned the repertoire for the concert coming up here, that you're going to be doing a lot of your songs, mix in a few of Kat's songs as well. I know you two are writing and working together on stuff. Will you be debuting any newer songs, any things that are currently in the works when you come here to perform?
Well, I should say that Kat is going to record an album this year. She signed a record deal just very recently, like a week ago, and she has started writing, but none of those songs are in any kind of shape to do. But that's a good question, because I think eventually, if we continue touring together, once her album comes out, she'll have 12 new songs to pick from. We've written. I've helped her write 3 or 4 of the songs that she's messing around with, and that's actually a good question, because we probably will do that. But no, there's no time to work on new stuff right now. Do
you have a target date for your next album, Kat?
No, sir. I don't. It's way too in the infantile state.
Embryonic
state.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's going to be Americana. She signed with a label in Nashville.
I know what it's going to be.
Well, it's going to be, we both love, country-esque kind of music, but it's not going to be a country album.
Okay.
It's going to be Americana.
Okay. Kat, you write a lot of songs. You've collaborated with many songwriters. If you look at the credits on your albums, it seems like in 2015 with Hysteria, you found your niche, your comfort zone, and you wrote, I believe, every song or co-wrote every song on that album, which was a step up from previous albums, which had 1 or 2. Are you in a good place as a songwriter at this point?
Yeah, I mean, it's not something that I wake up every day and say, like some people, some artists, I think, wake up and they just want to write every day. That's definitely not me. if I have a task and I, want to get in a room with really creative people, then I'll sit down and do it. But yeah, I think like compared to when I first started sitting down in a room with people to write, I was very uncomfortable, and it's a very vulnerable thing to do. But now, I feel very comfortable with coming up with melodies and maybe some song ideas. But I certainly wouldn't want to sit down and like write an entire song by myself.
Okay.
I think I need the collaborative experience. And obviously, David and I have really, when we started dating, we didn't sit down and write songs together. And we only recently have been playing. I've actually, over the years, been helping him, like when he's working on a demo or whatever, and mostly just singing all the demos for him, just because I'm convenient and in his backyard, literally. But like, helping him like, oh no, your melody should go down instead of up or whatever. But that's been the extent of us writing together. And now that I've had this opportunity to put out some new music, I think we're going to have some fun writing together because it's super convenient, because we're together all the time. But I don't, I really am keeping my expectations kind of at bay. I don't want to create these expectations that, we're going to have a full singer-songwriter album together.
She's going to have 12 great songs on her record, and if they come from her, great. And if they don't, she'll know the difference to say, no, that my song's not good enough, let's do this one.
Okay. What do you look for in a song when you're planning to record? Obviously, you get 10 to 12 songs to pick from. What is it that makes it Katharine McPhee song?
What do I look for?
Yeah, what do you look for that makes it your song?
I don't know. That's a really I think it's kind of hard to answer. I mean, every song is different. I think you connect to some songs more with the melody than you do the lyrics. It's like some songs just immediately make you feel happy and feel, in a good mood. So I think I just look for something that makes me feel something.
This tour is lasting. I'm looking at your website here at KatharineMcPhee.net. And listeners, you can also keep up with David at DavidFoster.com. Both of them kind of interlap with the tour dates and things. But I see the tour with the two of you is ending in May, and then you get a break until December again. Is that when you're going to focus on the new projects?
No, not everything. The website you're looking at is not actually run by me. So we actually are going to Asia for the entire month of June, so we don't really have any. We have some breaks in the summer, but we're going to be pretty busy, like all through June, a little bit of July. But we're not quite sure yet. I mean, I don't. But
to answer your question, I think if there's an album to be made, if she'll get the album made, it'll be by the end of the year. She'll have it made.
Okay. Is the Asia tour? Is that going to be a working thing or a personal vacation?
Oh no, it's going to be no. We have tons of dates over there. In Jakarta, Indonesia, Thailand, Manila, and Japan.
Okay.
We've been there. I've been there probably, safely 20 times. It's a great place because they love music over there, and they're great audiences.
On your second album, Unbroken, Katharine, you covered Melanie Safka's Brand New Key. I was a friend of Melanie's, and of course, we just lost her early this year. And I was wondering if you are planning to cover that, given the fact that we did just lose her in your current tour.
Yeah, you know what? I used to do that song a lot on my own personal dates. I haven't done that in a very long time. I didn't know that she passed away.
Just a few weeks back.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm not, it was an A&R person that I was working with at the time that, said, oh, this would be a fun song for you to do. And we really did make it our own, and it was a fun one to do. We just, David has so many great songs, and since it's a show about the both of us, we really try to prioritize the songs that make the most sense for our show. Mm-hmm. So, unfortunately, we don't cover that one. But it's nice that you know so much of my history of things that I've covered.
I just thought you did a wonderful job on that. I served as her MC in a couple of shows when she was here in Chicagoland, and got to know her and her son quite well. And that was always a favorite of mine growing up. And to hear you cover that, I thought,
it's a great song.
And you brought it to a new generation.
Right.
Kat, you've released about 6 albums since the days of American Idol when you first got introduced to the public. And they've been all over the board, pop, rock, jazz, standards. Is there a certain style or genre that you have an affinity for, that you are most comfortable doing, that you plan to record more of?
Yeah, I think I'm probably most comfortable in the standard jazz world. My mom a voice teacher and a singer herself. My whole childhood, I grew up listening to a lot of, Tony Bennett and even Barbra Streisand, which is where you get a lot of the Broadway tunes. And who else did my mom love? Peggy Lee and, Frank Sinatra, of course. My grandparents listened to that. So I don't know. My mom also covered all of those standards. I really know those songs. And then my influence was more pop, though. I mean, I loved Mariah Carey and Celine Dion and Whitney Houston. So I bring kind of a fresh pop take to a lot of those standards. But that is the stuff I feel the most comfortable with, because it's really the stuff that my mom listened to the most and sang the most.
I'm a big fan of Julie London, and I loved the way...
My mom loved Julie London, too. Yeah.
I love the way you did the jazzy standards on that I Fall in Love Too Easy. I think it was 2016-17 you released that. What was interesting is that you teamed up with Don Was as your producer, and I would not think Don would be a standards kind of guy. I love his work, but it's always been in the rock realm. What was it like to work with him, and how did that project come together? Obviously, you enjoy that music. Will we see more of it, and how did that particular album come together working with Don?
Yeah, I think that's an easy answer to give in terms of that, as I just said, that music feels so comfortable to me, and I really, really enjoy singing a lot of those songs that I'm so familiar with. So, I think eventually one day I probably will put out another kind of record like that. I don't know how I got connected with Don Was. The record label, I guess, reached out to him, and we had a great time together. Don is a very chill, easygoing, relaxed guy. So to be in the studio with him was very stress-free. It was kind of a lot like a very kumbaya experience where you just kind of went in there with all the musicians. We played all of it together at the same time, and I did several vocal takes, and he just had a very kind of natural, very organic approach to making records. I don't know if that's how he makes records in terms of the rock stuff, but it was a pleasure to work with him. I really loved spending time with him and having him produce on the project.
It seemed very relaxed in the making, because it certainly is a relaxing album to listen to, and it sounded like you guys were just in a natural kind of groove. I mean, it doesn't seem like you put a lot of effort out, even though I'm sure you did. It just seemed very casual, and I think that's what makes the album appealing.
I think you're right. It was very casual. That's the best way to explain it. It wasn't overproduced. It was very much organic, as you say.
Katharine, we were talking about some of the torch singers, some of the great standard singers of the years past that your mom embraced. Julie London, in particular, a favorite of mine and your mom's. She balanced very carefully her singing career with acting. She was in film, television, did a lot of stage work, as do you. How do you balance things? Let's talk about the balance of all these amazing things that you do. And on that topic, do you have any more acting things forthcoming? Any more projects in the works?
Well, I mean, when I have been on TV show, I mean, I was on Scorpion for 4 years, and that was kind of the last season was when David and I started dating. And it was the TV schedule, depending on what kind of show you're on. And in my case, Scorpion was very, very intense, where I was working really long 15, 16-hour days. And it is hard because you don't have a lot of time for anything else. You live for your weekends. Your weeknights are not very available because you got to get rest and get up for the next day. So I don't know. I think as I'm older now, and David and I are obviously married, and we have a child together, I really have to, in terms of balancing, I have to be very specific about what I say yes to, because my priorities are just not the same. I have to really, when you ask me about future projects, I'm looking at stuff, but if it really doesn't move me, if it's just to do, saying yes to just being working, and actually getting some sort of paycheck, and it's not actually inspiring, I just won't say yes to, because it's just not worth, being away from my family. That's more of my priority. I think when you get older, that becomes an easier priority. So right now, the balance is a little easier because we're all together. But yes, it will change one day, and you just have to make a decision of okay, is this project really going to be worth my time being away from my loved ones. And it really is going to have to be something that is very exciting and fulfilling.
The grind of doing a series like Scorpion is intense, whereas opposed to when you're on stage, you get that instant rapport with your audience. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking you're probably more comfortable with stage work at this point in your career. Am I assuming correctly?
Yeah. I mean, listen, my first day on a set, which was, 20 years ago, whatever, was a day where I was like, wow, I really found my place. I really found where I feel comfortable and I thrive. I still think I feel that way about being on a set in terms of the work and the structure of it and being inspired by the people you're with and the work you get to do. But right now I don't have, I'm not on a TV show and I'm, not reading anything that's inspiring me. So yeah, I would say that right now, because I've been doing more live stuff, Broadway and the live shows with David, but that can change it. I guess my point is that I've actually, TV sets, movie sets is where I felt like the most filled. It's just hard to like put into words, because the experience you get from a live audience, whether it's Broadway or the shows that David and I do, is just very different than doing a scene in a TV show. It's just different. Okay. But each show is different. So, doing Smash versus doing Scorpion, those were not created equal. Like, the amount of fulfillment I got out of one show versus the other was not the same.
And you seem adept at both comedy and drama, so I think that your wheelhouse is wide open, I think.
Yeah, thank you.
David, you've worked with a lot of artists over the years. It's a who's who, from Streisand to Celine Dion to Seal. How was it different working with Kat now that you guys have the personal as well as professional relationship? How has that changed the dynamic of how you guys create together?
Well, first of all, I love working with great singers, as you can probably see from my resume. And I've been fortunate to work with so many great singers, and Kat is no exception. She's an amazing singer. She's geographically so desirable, of course. So whenever I'm at the piano and I need how would that sound with a girl singing? She just pops into the living room, and then I get my answer immediately. We really do love working together. Being on the road can be a little intense, being together 24/7. Mm-hmm. But we found a way to make it all work. And like you talked with her earlier, she will eventually go back on Broadway or get another television show. And so our touring together will probably come to an end for a while. But I was doing the Hitman tour show alone before Kat and I got together. So I could go back to that as well.
You've done an awful lot of Christmas albums and songs over your career. Why Christmas? Are you a jolly old elf inside, or what? It just seems like you have a knack for holiday albums.
Well, the reason why I love doing Christmas albums is kind of, there's a few reasons, but the main reason is, and think about this, when you do a Christmas album, there's no pressure to have a top 40 hit. It's the one time of the year you get to have a free pass musically. You can have Rod Stewart singing Jolly Holly Christmas, and everybody's going to love it. If you try to do a song like that for Rod Stewart and try to get him on the radio, the rest of the year, you would fail miserably. But you get a free pass, and you cannot be too corny. And that's what I love about it. It's so easy, And then I really enjoy taking the same songs, because everybody wants the same sort of 50 songs, and taking these songs and reimagining them every time. I've done the Christmas song. I've done it with 5 or 6 different artists, and every time it's a little different.
You've worked, as I mentioned, with so many famous folks over the years. Who is on your wish list still at this point in your career that you haven't been able to pair up with, but you'd like to do an album with before the curtain goes down?
Well, there's people that I love, like Billy Joel and Sting, who I haven't worked with, those two. Elton, who I sort of worked with a little bit back in the day, but not really. And, there's folks like that. There's some young people I've talked to Drake a couple of times. We talked maybe about running in the studio and me laying down something that he could, take and then make his own. But that hasn't come to reality yet. There's young artists out there I love Ed Sheeran. I love Ariana Grande. We did get to work together on one song. I love Olivia Rodrigo. I think she's really hitting it out of the park. There's nothing that I have that I think she needs or wants.
I couldn't agree with you more on Olivia. She is definitely a bright star on the rise here.
Yeah.
You've won An amazing amount of Grammy Awards. You've earned gold and platinum records. You've gotten accolades from the media, your peers. You're so respected in the business. At this point in your career, what do you look back on probably with the most pride? That said, this was the highlight. This was the brass ring for me. Is there one or two periods or projects that you feel that way about?
It's dotted, but it's more than one and probably less than 10. But if you look at my life in chunks, I mean, certainly the Whitney time with the Bodyguard, the Celine time, the group Chicago, those were great years, those 3 albums. Hooking up with Natalie Cole and putting her and her father together was a big moment. Finding Michael Bublé was a big moment. So just to name 5. And my time with Earth, Wind & Fire was amazing as well.
Mm-hmm. You've got a connection, like you said, with Chicago, Earth, Wind & Fire, both Windy City-based bands. Do you have a direct connection to Chicago? Do you have any roots here?
I don't, but other than what you just mentioned, which is those 2 bands, which are 2 of my favorite bands of all time. And like you said, coincidentally, both from the city of Chicago. And then the show Betty Boop that I'm doing, the Broadway show, we did a 6-week run in Chicago just late last year. So I spent some time in Chicago, and I really liked it.
All right, David and Katharine. And Katharine, let's talk about your jewelry line. Where did the idea to do that come from, and how involved are you in that company? I know that you're the face behind the product and the one who does the modeling of the jewelry pieces, but how involved are you in the design process and the day-to-day?
I think you're always trying to be creative and diversify yourself, and jewelry has been a quiet passion of mine, and something I'm a collector of my own pieces. I love to collect vintage pieces, and so a friend of ours just connected me with somebody, and it was kind of right after my son was born, and that's just how we got the ball rolling. And my goal was always kind of to end up on HSN, which is kind of where we're mostly stationed now. I mean, we do direct to consumer, which is just through the website. But yes, I'm heavily involved with pretty much all aspects of the business. And when I look back, it's been maybe a little over 3 years. So yeah, we're just finally got to HSN, which is a place where I always wanted to end up selling, because when I was a kid, I loved watching those shows like the QVCs and the HSNs with my mom. And yeah, I liked the aspect of talking about the pieces and the stories behind them and the design process. And so we have arrived there, and we're just kind of getting started.
Okay, so listeners, you can find some of her stuff on the Home Shopping Network, but you can also go directly to the website, which is KMFjewelry.com. And beautiful pictures of you modeling it as well. So
Thank you.
That's always a treat to look at you and then to look at the pieces themselves. One thing, I know we're running tight on time here, I do want to cover, and that is both of you do a lot of philanthropic work. Both of you have charities. David, through the David Foster Foundation, you can follow that at davidfosterfoundation.com. Katharine, you work with Feeding America and other projects. Tell me a little bit about how people can help and how you got to be involved in those.
Well, I think both of us have felt early on in our lives that, giving back is an important part of living. And for me, I got involved many, many years ago with my foundation, and it's been a real passion of mine. We're 35 years strong now. We've helped a lot of families, and we've really filled a hole that's made a huge difference in a lot of people's lives. And so to say that feels great is an understatement. Of course, the families get a lot out of it, but I get even more out of it, I think, just by knowing that I'm, helping people through these incredible struggles when their child is having an organ transplant. So, and Kat has been sort of getting very actively involved in my foundation now. Lately, I drag her out to all the events and make her sing, and and so by osmosis, she's now getting more and more involved, and it's good. It's good. It feels good.
Yeah, there's so many great causes. Like there's a great charity here in Los Angeles that does a lot of great work, I think, internationally, but it's called Baby to Baby. I think being a new mom, that's a charity I love to donate to and show up for and give attention to. But yeah, David's Foundation, I think, in terms of us actively, I mean, David especially, you've been doing this for a really long time, but us actively as a couple doing something together, we show up for his foundation. It's a well-established, a well-run foundation, so we're happy.
And the people now, when we do events for my foundation, the people expect expect that Kat's going to be there. So she's now a part of it.
And again, listeners, davidfosterfoundation.com is where you can find information on that, respectively. davidfoster.com for his career, KatharineMcPhee.net for her career. And thank you so much for being with us today. And is there anything we haven't talked about or covered that you would like to let people know?
I think you drilled down on us from birth to death. So I think we got it all. Thank you, Tom.
All right. Thank you. We'll see you here at the Hard Rock Casino at the Hard Rock Live Auditorium on Saturday, May 4th. How long will this show be?
It'll be about 8 hours. So bring a lunch. No, we're typically on stage for about an hour and a half.
Okay.
Give or take 5 minutes. And it's a pretty tight show.
And it starts at 8 p.m. Is there an opening act at all traveling with you?
There is not.
All right. Thank you much. I appreciate your time.
Thanks,
Travel
Tom.
safe.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.